Next up, it is indeed Vegas week for the podcast, my annual pilgrimage to the land of endless slots, getting sauced, and scandal. And one particular Vegas influencer caught my eye recently. He runs the Casino Comp Wallet account on Instagram. It's Vegas Pauly C joining us on the course of life. Pauly C, how you doing today?
Well, hello, hello, hello. People like when I start with that, so.
Absolutely. That's the intro to every video that you hear on social media from Pauly C. Very curious about your background. I know people are very transfixed with your accent. I'm in Texas now, but I grew up in the Northeast. So I was around a lot of girls from Long Island, New Jersey in my college days. But give everyone a little bit of taste of your background and how you eventually got to Vegas.
Okay, so I started, a payphone company when I was like 20 years old. My mother basically handed it to me. She said, do this, this will be good for you. I schmucked around with it for a couple of years, just taking every quarter and either gambling it away or wasting it on God knows what.
Hmm.
And I grew up in a great area and that there were a lot of intelligent people around me. And my neighbor, I grew up in Roslyn, New York, more or less. It's really Albertson. My neighbor said to me, "Hey, you're an idiot. You can make a lot of money with what you're doing, but you're just schmucking away the money. I will give you all of my bar mitzvah money." And he did. He had $25,000.
Wow.
And I will run the financial end of it. And you give me the ideas. So it was my ideas and his structure. And he didn't let me make any money for 3 years. And he took that and he built it up into a $6 million company.
Wow.
And it was sold on June 30th, 1994. And by April 22nd, 1995, all the money was gone. I had gambled it all away. So I found out later on, I found out in about 2019 that I was born with a genetic mutation called CCAATT. So I do not produce dopamine or serotonin at any normal levels. I only produce it at 20% rate. So I had an
Interesting.
entire career in the telecommunications industry, but I always was transfixed by Las Vegas because it was getting me where I needed to be. I don't know if you've ever heard people who smoke marijuana or do anything. They say, look, it's getting me where I need to be. So I learned at a very early age that information, I used to read the encyclopedia when I was a kid, and especially gambling information and especially gambling got me to where I needed to be. So I've been reading about this stuff as soon as I could find it at the age of, I want to say 7, but it probably was 11 or 12.
Yeah.
There would be one article in the New York Times about gambling on page number 14. And I remember one of the very first things I ever saw was something with Hilton and them acquiring a property on the Strip. And this was honestly in the 70s. And I was born in 64, so I had to be 10 years old. 8 years. I don't even know how old I was.
Yeah.
And then that's all we had for a long time was newspapers. So I was in telecommunications, and then I got back into the payphones in a big way in 2015. I got this huge contract with Google. So I was really in debt. I was in debt, a ton of money from gambling, and I got this huge contract with Google, and I worked for them for about 6 years, and paid all the money back, enough to pay back all the money that I owed from debt. And then the pandemic just. But while I was making that money, I developed an app that sat between the gambler and the casino, and it was called Casino Comp Wallet.
Yeah. We're
And
going to get into that too.
I really thought it was going to go somewhere, but I was delusional. Nobody in the casino industry really wants it. They want to continue to use snail mail and to control their own profiles. But I know that if I ever found the exact right people to stand behind it, what it would become is it would become sort of like a MasterCard for gambling. You don't remember this because you're too young, but back in the days, the banks themselves used to actually issue the credit cards before Visa and MasterCard rolled everybody up into two
Okay.
platforms. There used to be hundreds of platforms, all of the banks, and they cleared through it. And the banks actually traded their equity, and it became two huge companies. But what happened was 2 years ago, I started doing content creation to promote the app, and the tail started wagging the dog. And I'll never forget it. I always tell people this story. I would do a video with like my dog licking my head, and it would get 20,000 views. And my girlfriend said to me, the algorithm loves you. That's what she said to me. And I said, I know. I don't know why. I'm a nerd. I have no talent.
Mm.
I stayed in the basement for 57 years, so I don't know why this is happening. So it just sort of grabbed me, and I just started doing it, and now I grow every day 500, 1,000 followers. I have 620,000 followers. I don't know what the end game is. I'm barely monetizing with it because I refuse to take money from anybody. So I can't organically. And as a matter of fact, at 5 o'clock today, I'm going to do a house tour for a $5 million house that's for sale. So I don't need to prove this to you, but I could show you my text. And the woman said, well, how much do you charge? And I said, I can't take money, because if I take money, I'm going to get all neurotic. Did I do a good job?
Wow.
Did she get enough
I think a lot of
views?
people would swear that you would have taken money for all the posts you've done recently with all your content.
No,
That's crazy.
nothing.
Wow.
So what happens is it shuts me down, because then I start to get nervous. And as long as I'm doing it as a mitzvah, which is like, as long as I'm doing it as a good deed,
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
I appreciate that. No, that's very cool to see.
Tomorrow I'm going to get a Lamborghini, I think, but I'm not getting paid to drive the Lamborghini, but they're going to let me drive a Lamborghini. For me,
Love
that's
that.
a
Very
whole
cool. Before we get more into your content, I want to talk about that concept though, and what you created with Casino Comp Wall, because a lot of people that go to Vegas, I'm just now learning this in like my 4th or 5th visit there now, don't know anything or understand the idea of comps in Vegas. And explain to people just from a base level, explain comps and the different levels of them and how people can take advantage of them when they go to Vegas.
Okay, so the way comps are figured out is by something called your theo, which is short for theoretical. So they can't really worry about what you won or what you lost in the short run, because there's so much what's called variance in gambling.
Yeah.
So you could sit down, and this could really happen if you're playing a good game like blackjack. You could sit down and play blackjack properly, and there's a card. Well, the card's right here. Coincidentally, there's a card that you can buy, and I'm going to be selling
basic strategy card. Yeah.
Basic strategy card. And you could play the first 100 hours and you could win. You could be ahead, because the house edge, if you're playing a perfect game with great rules, is only 0.0026%, which is 1/4 of 1%. So the luck is going to be way more important than the house edge. And that's why they don't want to deal blackjack anymore, because it's such a tight game. But if you're playing slots, they know that they're taking, for instance, MGM takes 9.2%, according to their latest quarterly, out of every dollar that you put in. So you put in $100, they're going to give you back $90.80 on average. So they can track that really well. So now if you think about that, if you play $1,000 in coin in, they know that they're going to make $90.20, 9.2%. So that $90.20, they give you back what's known as a comp on that. And the comp that they like to get, now every place is different, but the comps are anywhere from 10 to 40%. So depending on how tight the house is with those comps, they're going to give you anywhere from $9 to $36 in free stuff on that $1,000 in coin in. And that's what a comp is. And then they can apply that towards your hotel room. So as an example, let's just say you did $3,000 coin in at a very cheap property. That was over comping. So let's just say it was Circus Circus, which only charges maybe $75 a night. They're going to give you a free room. They're going to give you a free room on a $3,000 coin in, guaranteed.
Absolutely.
But if you put $3,000 into the win, where the average room is $700-800 a night, they could care less.
Got it. Okay, so that explains the levels very nicely. I'm curious, what's like the most absurd comp that you've been given, or what's the highest level you've seen of comping in Vegas?
Okay, now but that's going to be like a 30-second to 1 minute story. I'll tell it as fast as I can.
Perfect. Yeah.
When I was gambling really heavy, when I got my $1 million cash and some stock and some other nonsense, when I sold my company, when I was gambling really heavy, the week that I actually lost $1 million, the first night that I was there, I won $100,000 from the Mirage. I ran over to the desert and I lost it on the tables in about an hour. In fact, I was buying in so fast and furious with the cash that they were counting the cash at the table next to me. They couldn't even count it on the table. So I lost $100,000. I ran back over to the Mirage. Shock of all shocks, I won another $100,000. I ran across the street to the Desert Inn, which is no longer there, by the way. Now that's the win. That's where the win is. Okay. And I lost $100,000, again, with them counting it at the other table. So I lost $200,000. You would have to know me really well to understand this. I didn't even ask for a cup of coffee. I just wanted to get out of there. As I'm walking out the door, someone taps me on the shoulder. Wow. My immediate thought was, what did I do wrong? Did I violate something? Am I going to get in trouble? Are they going to say to me, where'd you get this cash from? It was the casino host, and he said to me, Paul, we don't want you to leave empty-handed, because I was leaving with nothing, not even a cup of coffee.
Jeez. He
took me over to the cage, and he gave me $10,000 in cash. So that was the biggest comp I've ever gotten, was that $10,000 in cash.
Immediately. Wow, that's quite the story. I appreciate that from again Vegas Pauly C here joining us for a little Vegas 101 as I get ready for
But
my
remember,
trip
I
this
lost
week.
190 because I lost 200. He gave me back 10.
Right, you did get the 10 back. That's a good
Right.
footnote. I appreciate that. Let's talk about some of your content as it pertains to Vegas because there's a lot going on in the city. You get right to the point with lots of juicy and fascinating stories and scandal from Vegas. Was your content always like that, or how have your content and your videos morphed like throughout the last few
Well,
years?
I really regret the fact that I have to tell the truth because you can start at the top of the strip, just say the stratosphere, and I can go down every property in general, and I know exactly what's going on in there because I'm
Right.
just so over involved. And when you run into a property like Resorts World, and you know that they're only making $200 million in total cash flow on a $4.3 billion investment, which is an ROI of like 4.8%. And you stand in front of the place and you do a story about that. It's a negative story. If I was to read the financials for Bally's, which I did. So I read the financials for Bally's, which is the Tropicana on the south end of the strip, place where I could really see factual information. Bally's has a $56 million operating loss. I don't even know how that's possible. I've never seen that in a casino. In other words, they don't even make a dollar to pay all the interest that they owe. They don't even make a dollar to pay for depreciation, to pay for anything. So a lot of the stories of these mega resorts, Caesars doesn't make a profit. They do have nice cash flow that they use to pay for depreciation and interest,
Okay.
but they don't make a profit, and they owe $12 billion in hard loans and another $12 billion in capital leases. So they're not making a profit. So it does not really work anymore. You cannot take $4 billion, and it'll be interesting to see because Tillman Fertitta has that property on the strip where he has to put $4 billion at 6 acres. It's right across the street from the Aria. The $4 billion investment and then get the return, it's not there anymore. Because think about it. If you have to pay 8% and change, although right now those money rates are more like 7.5%.
Right.
But just in round numbers, if you have to pay 8% interest on $4 billion, if you have to get a return on that, that's $1 million a day in interest before you make a dollar of profit.
Yeah.
People don't realize this one I know for a fact, and then the one people don't realize. What do you think the electric bill is for one of these megalopolis resorts on the
I
strip?
couldn't even begin to guess. Wow. Well, I mean, what is
It's
it?
it's anywhere from $25,000 to $35,000 a month.
Golly, geez.
I'm
Wow.
sorry. I'm sorry. A day. I said that wrong.
A day, even
It's
crazier.
$25,000 to $35,000 a day. What do you think? And these things you can look. Well, you can't look up the electric bill, but you can look up the real estate taxes.
Right.
The real estate taxes at the Bellagio are $20 million a year.
Wow.
And I haven't looked up the real estate taxes on the Fontainebleau, but I would guess they're $22 million a year because it's
You
probably.
you you've done a good job highlighting some unique properties. Real quick, touch on a couple of recent videos you did where you highlighted just the value of like prime strip Vegas land, like small little 1 and 2 acre plots going for what, several $1 million. It seems like. I mean,
Well,
you've already described it from a casino perspective, but just from a real estate perspective, the
well,
gaudy examples of money.
it's very interesting because Steve Wynn paid $75 million for the 300 acres that City Center, the Cosmopolitan, New York, and Park MGM sit on, right? And other things. But and I think also the T-Mobile Arena, where all of that sits, he paid $75 million for 300 acres. If you do the math on that, that's only $250,000 an acre.
Bargain.
So there was a little strip of land between the Bellagio and Cosmopolitan, 1.5 acres, that 30 years ago was valued for $375,000 because 1.5 times 250,000 is 375,000. MGM just paid the people $54 million for it, which is
Absurd.
30 million, 30 whatever $million an acre. I did the actual math. I have the math on the video. So and it was windy that day and it was cold and I stood out there, but I knew that video was going to do really well. So the really prime stuff now, straight on the strip, we have a dream. Like Tillman Fertitta, he paid, I think, $40 million an acre for that 6 acres that's over there. I forgot the exact number. It might have been $42 million an acre. So the really prime center strip stuff is around $40 million an acre. When you start to get out, like when you start to get north, you start to get south. As an example, Steven Seagal Mania, yeah. Steven Seagal, he paid $75 million for 10 acres, more towards the north in front of the convention center. But arguably, that land is now worth about 12 or 13 million an acre because Brett Torino paid 125 million for the land adjacent to that, right next to the Fontainebleau, 10 acres for 125 million. So that's going for like 12 million an acre.
Wow.
When you get up north towards the Sahara, there's a 27-acre lot there. I would say that's, and I'm talking out of my tuchus, I'd say that's worth 8 or 9 or $10 million an acre.
That's insane.
So it's everywhere
wow.
it's 40 right in the middle right now. And then it goes down to 10 and then drops down to 5. And then, I mean, people don't realize that the strip goes all the way down to the M, which is, how many miles is the M from the strip? It's got to be 8 or 9 miles.
Wow. Very impressive numbers.
Okay, so there's land down there that I did a story on. There's 4 acres for $12 million. So that's $3 million.
Yeah. Wow. Really insane numbers from Vegas, Pauly C there. And one other thing that's really big money that I want to get your take on, because it doesn't seem like you were super enamored with it. We all saw the debut of Formula One in Las Vegas. I'm in a city in Austin, Texas, that's had kind of mixed reviews on the F1 race, but it's pretty separated from the city itself. What were your overall vibes on year one of F1 and the potential for year 2 there?
Very mixed emotions. My original emotions were extremely selfish because my original thoughts were extremely selfish because I would put up any video of them ripping up the strip, and I think I did 9 of them, and out of the 9 that I did, I think either 6 or 7 went viral, went over 1 million views. Mm-hmm. So I could stand there with my phone, and the turner was knocking out the concrete.
That's it, yeah.
And I one of those videos got 4.5 million views. So initially I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. I'm a content creator. I'm so excited. I'm getting so many views. But as the months went by and as it got closer to the race and I saw what the general public was going through, and then of course, after the race, we found out that there were 8 or 10 businesses that got destroyed by it. And I saw the horror of, the traffic and the people getting to work and the people, think about it. If you worked on the strip, you might have spent as much as 10 hours a week, an extra hour to get there, an extra hour to get home. So you had people who are spending 10 hours a week. Is that really fair to ask of salaried employees or employees that are working? And let's face it, and this is another conversation I would love to have, but let's face it, one of the toughest jobs in the world is to do housekeeping in one of these major hotels. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, that's the real truth, yeah.
So, to ask someone like that to spend another 10 hours a week so that Bellagio and the main recipients of that cash were Venetian, Bellagio, and Wynn, right? They got all the money. It was only $155 million that came in extra over that normal November. So to ask people to suffer for that, it's one of these things where, the winners and losers, it wasn't really fair. Like usually things that hit Las Vegas, it benefits everybody. But how did they benefit from the F1?
Got it.
I mean, you're going to have to tell me.
Interesting perspective. Indeed. Yeah, I appreciate that. Again, it's Casino Comp Wallet on Instagram. You can follow TikTok and socials as well for Pauly C's content. Real quick, we got to address the idiot gamblers. I'm a big roulette guy, and you did a post recently on some guys playing 000 roulette when there was an empty 00 table. Just really for the people who are just learning the games and understanding roulette, understand what's going on there and why those idiot gamblers exist and make the building so beautiful in Vegas as well.
Okay, so roulette basically comes in 4 versions. Let me run it down for you. Yep. So you have 0 roulette with what's called the partage rule, which means that if a color hits, they give you back half of your money, and that's at the very highest level. That's a $300 minimum for the most part. At the Bellagio, I've done videos on the partage rule there, and then you have 0 roulette where they don't give you half of your money back. That's 2.35%, and then you have 0 roulette, which is 5% and change for the house. And then you have 0 roulette, which is 7.69%.
That's the one I stay away from, yeah.
So when you're betting colors in Las Vegas, you can play anywhere from let's just say you want to bet red. You come to Las Vegas, you want to bet red. The price that you're going to pay the house can vary anywhere from 1.35% all the way up to 7.69%, depending on the limits, where you are, and what the rules are. So that's the variation. So you have 0 with partage, 0 with no partage, and I hope I'm saying partage correctly. I've seen it spelt Partage. You have 0 and 000. But I'll tell you what's galling. So people don't realize it, but it was the mafia themselves who put the 00 on the roulette wheel. The European roulette wheel had 10 on it. And when roulette came to the United States, and I'm Italian, so I can do this.
Yep.
I'm allowed to do this. When roulette came to the United States, the mafia said, hey, these idiots over here, let's throw another 0 on the wheel. They don't know what the hell they're doing. So they started with the 00 roulette. I don't know exactly when. I want to say the 50s, maybe the 60s in Cuba. I haven't really done the research on when they stuck the 00 on. But it blew my mind when 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, and again, I don't know the exact date, I walked by roulette wheel in Las Vegas and I saw a third 0. I went like this. Oh!
You've seen it all, Pauly C. That was a new
So
one.
when I see the fourth 0, I don't know what's going to happen. I'll probably have an apoplectic fit and just die right there on the floor.
Well, Pitt, again, Vegas Pauly C here joining us on the Course of Life. Let's spend the last few minutes doing some quick shot questions so we can get your favorites in Vegas. Let's just start real quick answers for you. Pauly C, what is or was your game of choice at the casino?
It's blackjack.
Blackjack. Okay, cool. And ever do any slots, any slot of choice at all?
I'll throw $100 into the mega whatever because it's a $10 million prize, or the Wheel of Fortune I enjoy, but it's a sparing $100 here and there because I know that the house has a 9% edge. So it's, I'm just throwing my money away.
Yep.
Well, let me say this real quick. I've been throwing money into slot machines for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I've had one hand pay.
Wow.
So,
okay. There's a little perspective for people that are just going for the first time there. So patience.
Okay.
One thing I need to pry about regarding your personal life is you did something amazing that you posted on Instagram. You actually spent time out with, I believe, your ex-wife and your girlfriend at the same time. Pauly C, how did you pull that miracle off? That's unbelievable.
Well, Anne-Marie is extremely friendly and my girlfriend's very cool. And they met, 7 years ago when I started dating my girlfriend, and they just don't have anxiety with one another. So
I love that. That's awesome. It's refreshing to see. It was.
They're mature. They're mature.
Very cool. For our people that are visiting and myself as well, what's like a really cool happy hour deal or food or drink deal that you like on or near the strip that our listeners should enjoy?
Well, Ocean One, you can drink unlimited for happy hour for $20, which is interesting because, and I did a video of this, in 24 states, that's illegal. They don't want you having unlimited drinking like that.
The unlimited. Yeah, that makes sense. One thing I saw that you recently found on a live broadcast as well, I'm in Texas, so I'm in the land of Whataburger, but you experienced the new Whataburger there. Looked like you enjoyed yourself on the patio vibes there, huh?
It's just an incredible facility. I mean, I give so much credit to the architects that come up with some of these places. Like Red Rock, whoever the architects are for, I don't know who the architects are for Red Rock casinos.
Yeah.
But whoever they are, they're so good at what they did. I went to the Green Valley Ranch and I was like, it's the most beautiful place in the world. Then I saw Red Rock. I was like, oh my God. But that Whataburger right there on the strip on the corner in front of MGM, it is so well done. It's just so well done. They have live music upstairs. I mean, it's not really a burger joint. It's more like a nightclub burger joint. I mean, you could spend the whole day there just eating and drinking and listening to the music. They have all the screens inside, the sports, like almost like a sports book. But you know what? I'm gonna guess, and I'm totally talking out of my tuchus. I'm gonna guess their rent's $400,000 a month.
Wow. Okay. There's some perspective.
And the reason that I'm going to guess that number is because I know another restaurant on the strip that's not even close to that good of a location that was paying $250,000 a month. So that's why and that Whataburger is, I don't think there's a better location on the Las Vegas Strip than that Whataburger. I really don't.
Very cool. We'll definitely check that out. We usually end with what we call our 19th hole question. So I'll just call this your end of the day meal question. Let's say you've had a long day filming, you're out in the town. What's your favorite place to go and your favorite like meal and drink to have at the end of a long day in Las Vegas?
Okay. I want to gatekeep this, but I won't. My favorite place to go at the end of a day is what's known as the North Terrace Lounge or bar. But anyway, I'm going to tell you where it is. When you go to the Wynn Encore, on the Wynn side, there's a bar called the Parasol Bar. Okay. I didn't even know this place was here. So the Parasol Bar sits in the middle next to the Lake of Dreams. Up here on the right, if you go to the door, it's not really, you can see it, it's not really marked. There's a little terrace that sits over the Lake of Dreams, and they keep it open there until 2 o'clock in the morning, and you can have a drink and sit there, and they play beautiful music, and it reflects off the lake. And for me, it's the most beautiful late night place in Las Vegas. It's
I
the
love that.
North Terrace of the Parasol Bar
Yeah, I
at the
walked through the
Wynn.
Wynn, but I missed that spot. So thank you for shouting out the name. I'll be sure to check that view out.
Yeah, you have to see
Again,
it. It's amazing.
again, it's Casino Comp Wallet on social. Be sure to follow. I'm excited for my trip. Thanks for getting me hyped up for Vegas, and love the content as always. And please give us your signature sign off as well.
I will. Thank you for having me. Vegas, Pauly C. Bye-bye.